Welcome to Beyond Sports. I'm your host, the Fitted Nuggets fan, and I have my co-host here with me, Bob Taylor.
Hey.
We are coming to you guys from Mile High Sports Radio, 98.1 FM. We have a terrific show lined up for y'all here today, but we're going to be kicking it off with Nuggets Now, just kind of looking at the current state of the Nuggets. Now, we all saw the Game 1 against the Timberwolves. Could have been better. I mean, there was some positives, but a lot of negatives as well. The Timberwolves, definitely appearing ready for the challenge. Not quite as disorganized as they appeared to be last year. And having Naz Reid back, making a big impact off the bench for them. Just overall, really showing that they are ready to contend this year. And the Nuggets are really going to have to earn it if they want to advance to round 3. So what were some of your takeaways from this game? Because, I have my own thoughts, but Bob, what were some of the major things you saw?
So I think the biggest thing it's going to be talked about endlessly. The Nuggets just can't come out and it was 14-0 at one point, 12-0 at one point.
Yeah,
they can't start
time.
that flat every single game, especially against a team of this caliber. This isn't the Lakers. I mean, did you see how they closed out on the perimeter during every single one of the Nuggets shots? There was about 7 times where they had to pass out on what I thought was a clearly open look, and just each one of their mans got to the spot immediately, closed out, had their hands ready. I mean, they wanted this game, and they played this game like they want to beat us and think they can. Do I think they win? No, I still think Nuggets win in 6. However, I think that they're going to have to turn it up a notch, and if they expect to do that.
Yeah, one thing that's really been a concern for me, and you kind of highlighted it, just turning it up a notch, is just that second gear for the team has just not been there. And even when they go on these quick runs, it just doesn't seem to last the whole game. And they have yet to have a postseason win where I felt good about it. And it's just continuing with struggling shooting. Jokic struggling to get going, 2 for 9 from 3 in this game. And, he is a pretty good shot selector whenever it comes to him making that decision, utilizing that basketball IQ. So it was really surprising to see him just jack up so many threes. Like 9 threes for Jokic. Like I want to say he averages below 5 a game.
Yeah, I mean, they were just giving it to him all game because he was taking them and clearly wasn't hitting them that well. So I think they kind of just left him open, and he thought he could find a shot, and it just never really fell. And I think that was kind of a story. I know he ended up with 32 points, which I know we're taking this for granted, but it felt like he was trying to go out there and dominate and have like a 50-point game, and he didn't play the best game. I mean, he started out not looking great. He had, 9 turnovers this game? 7 turnovers? Yeah, 7. And he just looked a little just something I have uncomfortable, I would say, is the right word for that.
Yeah, the whole team just looked discombobulated, I would say, throughout the whole game. They would start to get a rhythm, and then something would happen that would derail the train that was their momentum. And it had to do with a lot of really silly things, like whether it be, rushing into the paint with nobody to save you on a pass out and then still attempting to pass out, or just a number of those types of plays where they're just going too fast. They're trying to be, this flashy scorer. I just saw too often we need to drive to the hole, make smart basketball decisions. And for some of them, they were taking some good jump shots, open jump shots. I have no problem with that. If you're open, we should be shooting at any point in time. But what I don't want to see, and this specifically goes for Murray, and surprisingly MPJ has been a little bit better about this in the playoffs. But
he's been phenomenal this year.
He's been solid. I really don't have a lot of complaints with him, but it's just it's the shot selection. I mean, I know Timberwolves have stifling defense, but to see Murray take like 10-plus mid-range pull-up jumpers, whether they be step-backs or just pull-ups, that's not, even though it is Murray, it's just not the most effective shot. And I'd like to see him get to the hole, try and draw the foul, try to get the layup. Let's earn some of these buckets and not be afraid of that. And I felt like they looked scared to drive the paint the whole game. And I know Gobert and Towns are down in there, but at the end of the day, we got to get in there, get them in foul trouble. And they were. I mean, if we had just put the pressure on that post a little bit more with some of our smaller guys, we might have been able to really put that pressure on the Timberwolves and close it out. Because it was a close game up until the very end, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And something that's strange when you look at it, I know that we literally just talked about how slow of a start they had in the first quarter. They ended up winning that quarter and winning the half. They won each quarter by 2 points. And then in the second half, they lost by 6 in the third. They lost by 5 in the fourth. I mean, typically that's not the Nuggets that we know. We see the opposite.
Yeah, and when you're playing a team like the Timberwolves, it's about trying to make those adjustments. And I thought we played them pretty well at the end of the year. They didn't have Karl-Anthony Towns, and that is a huge impact for that team. I mean, he's an all-star. I don't think he made the all-star team this year, but barely a fringe all-star, whatever you want to call him. Still a valuable member of that Timberwolves team. And to see them struggle against the Timberwolves in Game 1 at home and lose, that was tough because the Nuggets are a tough team to beat, especially when it's a close game, and they just couldn't get it done. They had opportunities, and, had they done a little bit smarter on the offensive end, I think that they could have easily taken this game. It ended in a 7-point loss, but they had it within 2 minutes left, I want to say.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of their hands until they made some stupid plays. I want to say they had just the ball thrown away on a turnover when it was like within a basket.
Yeah.
And then that kind of ended it.
And I mean, 12 turnovers. They did get 12 steals on the other hand. So while they didn't play the best defense, I don't think, they did have active hands all night and made the Timberwolves pay for that. However, I think one of the biggest things that really happened, we saw this in the fourth quarter, but Naz Reid going on a 10-point solo run from the 6-minute mark to the 3-minute mark. And the Nuggets kind of held in there, but just you can't give Anthony Edwards that break. You can't let him have 3 minutes off. And I think that's a big reason as to why they lost the game. They let other players get going, and when that happens, they couldn't recover.
Yeah, and that was really the big issue because for the majority of the game, and I think the reason it was so close was because they did a good job containing the rest of the unit. But then towards the end of the game, especially in that second half, Michael Connolly came alive. Like you said, Naz Reid came alive. And I think it was because there was so much focus and effort on their main three. Gobert, they did a great job against, but he's not typically a 20-point-per-game offensive producer. It's just not in his nature. He's 12 to 15.
Yeah, I mean, he had a decent game offensively, and he had 6 points.
Yeah, 6 points. I mean, that's good against somebody like Gobert, and 20 for Towns. It's also good, even though he shot efficiently, just making sure he's not the one scoring a bunch of baskets, especially with just his ability to stretch the floor. But in general, I think that's the biggest issue with the Timberwolves. It's just how deep they are. One positive takeaway, though, for me from this game was the bench production. The only positive net positives we had in this game was all for the bench unit players, and I was really proud of that for them. And
shouts out Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't go to his head. We need him to continue to make smart basketball plays,
and I think he did that really well in this game.
Yeah, he controlled himself a lot because you can always tell when he starts galloping that he is just in that groove. And Will Barton, I swear, used to do the same thing. I need to find some video of that. But, for me, they played solid. Justin Holiday looked more kind of like what I expect from him from a defensive side. Christian Brown was a big spark plug off the bench. I'd like to see more Peyton Watson. For whatever reason, Coach Malone is really restricting Peyton Watson. I don't know if it's just to, unleash him later.
He airballed that 3, and that was rough.
Yeah, that was pretty rough, but I don't know.
Right,
in my opinion, I'd give him minutes over Justin Holiday and even Reggie Jackson, depending upon how he's doing. I mean, Reggie finished with 5 points, but 2 of 3, which is good and efficient, which is what we want from them. But, the bench play was here, and I think if the starters could just play more efficiently, we get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope a few more shots. Aaron Gordon was shooting well, and we didn't get him more looks. And the Timberwolves actually did a really effective job at stifling the alley-oop on Gordon.
That's the first time I've ever seen the Murray to Jokic to Gordon play stopped, and that was by Rudy. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, a great defensive read on their part because they stopped it more than once.
He should have just taken the floater, realistically.
But that's not Gordon's way.
Jokic should have taken the floater rather than try to throw the oop because Rudy was playing way too far back in drop coverage, and
Make him
because
pay
he knew
for it.
he knew exactly where it was going.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure that's a rhythm thing too. When you're moving that fast, ABC, it can really just muscle memory at that point for you. And
Oh, I
Jokic's
bet.
first instinct is to always pass. So
And they're just going back to old reliable, and that's, like I said, never been defended well against before. I don't think I've ever seen it stopped like that before.
not like that, not multiple times at least. Teams can get lucky, but that was like I want to say at least 3 times I saw that get disrupted, and it was really hard to watch that because that's usually a big burst off the bench and just off the overall game itself. But for me, this game too is extremely important tonight. It's a must-win situation. There's
Absolutely.
no exaggeration of that. If they do not win tonight, it is looking really rough. So I hope the Nuggets are focused. I know they are. Malone's got this team dialed in. These starters just need to produce. The bench is here to support. So we just need the starters to go out and do what they do best and not have a lack of confidence or a lack of, hesitation. We just need to get some good open looks and go straight to the hole. Really attack that basket. I know they got their bigs down there, but I think just getting them in foul trouble and really just drive into the basket so we can open up the three-point shot in the second half. I think that's going to be our key to victory.
Yeah, and I think we'll see a big response from the Nuggets tonight. You want to guess the score? What do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to say 105-103 Nuggets.
Okay, I was going to say 112-106 Nuggets. Get a little more of a kind of a comfortable victory there.
I hope so. If they can continue their defensive play and just up their offensive on the other side, I think we could see more of that score tonight.
Yeah.
This has been Nuggets Now with Beyond Sports. Follow us on social media at Beyond Sports 5280. Feel free to call in or text the show at 720-446-8463. We've got some Nuggets knowledge coming your way after this break. Welcome back to Beyond Sports. Well, we have some Nuggets knowledge lined up for y'all right now. So for our listeners out there who have not done a Nuggets knowledge with us, what we're trying to do is guess a player in Nuggets history. So this can't be a current player. It must be a retired or past Nuggets player. Technically, I guess they could still be in the league, but they can't currently play for the team. And then once either myself or Bob have guessed that player, it's going to be my turn this week to guess. We then try to place them in Nuggets history and then NBA history, give them a number in their historical place for those organizations. So Bob is up this week. He is going to try to stump me. He's got some stats and information to cover here, so we'll see if I can get my one guess right.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be able to stump you this week. It's kind of difficult. We got a one-time All-Star, a one-time All-NBA player, an Olympic gold medalist, and he was on his All-Rookie team. So he was the second overall pick to the Clippers. He played 6 seasons in Denver. He played for 5 total teams, 16 seasons in the NBA. Most of the seasons the team he played most seasons with was Denver. 361 games. He averaged 18.2 points, 9 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 0.9 steals, and 1.7 blocks during his time in Denver.
All right.
So definitely a bigger guy, pretty good on the defensive end. He is actually 7th in total blocks for the Nuggets at 604 and is tied for 8th with the blocks per game. He's actually tied with JaVale McGee and Birdman, so it's neither of those guys. I will at least tell you that.
All right.
And to kind of wrap it up, in 1,015 games over 16 seasons, he averaged 12 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.3 assists as his career stats.
So his prime was Denver, basically.
His prime was definitely Denver. He kind of was a little injury-prone, sat out for an entire year due to a knee injury. He's a great player. Do you need a little more info? I mean, do you want to know the era?
Yeah.
So late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Any other information to close it out? I could always use that extra help.
Not in particular. That's pretty much his only notable accomplishments.
What level
He did,
of All NBA did he reach?
I want
what
to say
team?
first team.
First team.
Yeah, it was 1997, I believe.
Wow.
And he won Olympic gold in 2000.
Olympic gold. Interesting. Is there any other additional info for this one?
I do not have anything for you.
Yeah, I felt like that was a pretty long list. One-time All-Star, that always is something notable, especially with the Nuggets. As we continue to do this,
Not that many people have very many accolades.
not many All-Stars, and it's obviously there's some we haven't covered, but just a little surprising. We're not the only underrated era, so to speak.
Yeah.
All rookie team though, all NBA, pretty impressive. Olympic gold medalist, so that kind of narrows it down because that means at one point he really was top of his game. It seems like his height was pretty short though, like for that prime, like one season as an all-star, but being an Olympic gold medalist, it seems like there's always like those random players who make it onto the Olympic team sometimes.
Yeah. As
Borderline
I said,
good players.
He did get injured a lot, so he had a lot of ups and downs in his career.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that.
Actually, I do have a little bit more information. He played his first 2 seasons with the Nuggets and then left and played at Phoenix for a year and then came back and played at the Nuggets for 4 straight seasons.
All right. Pretty interesting. I think I'm going to have to go with Antonio McDyess.
You are correct. You are absolutely correct. I'm very surprised by that. I did not think you were going to get it this week.
Yeah, Antonio McDyess is definitely one of those Nuggets legends out there, just kind of more of an underrated guy. I think, definitely for the one-time All-Star, kind of, again, little surprising.
Yeah.
He's definitely somebody who shows up in 2K and all kinds of other games pretty frequently. I also didn't really realize his peak was really on the Nuggets, 18.2 points per game over 6 seasons. That's pretty impressive. So it's good to see that he was really making that impact. 1.7 blocks per game, also pretty impressive. Especially when you're talking somebody like Birdman or JaVale McGee, who basically their job was the defensive end at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy to see that. So, a lot of respect for Antonio McDyess. Cool to see the All-NBA first team.
1998, 1999.
Yeah, and then the All-Rookie team as well, Olympic gold medalist. So this is obviously somebody who had pretty bright light on his career at one point. It's really sad to see the injuries taking his toll, but for whatever reason, only 361 games over 6 seasons though. That's not a ton. What's that, about 60% roughly, somewhere around that, I would say.
Yeah, I think so, somewhere around that.
Yeah, but it's a shame. You got somebody like Antonio, and he's definitely loved in Denver. I know that. People still talk about Antonio McDyess, and we're 25 years removed from that era.
Yeah.
So pretty cool to see. I love Antonio. So I guess the big question here is, where are we placing him in Nuggets history? For me, with these types of accolades, obviously, they're limited on champions. Technically, no champions that we could put into this list. Well, I guess not technically.
We could put Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
Still do Bruce Brown.
And Jeff.
And Jeff.
There's a couple, but not many. And so for this list,
too.
For this list, I think he'd be rated pretty high. I'd have to say top 25. 6 seasons. That's definitely one of the longer tenured Nuggets. Gold medalist, All-Star, All-NBA, All-Rookie team, averaging 18 points per game. I think that definitely gives him a top 25 nod.
So, while I do somewhat agree with you on that range, you did put Paul Millsap, or we did put Paul Millsap at 65. And he had multiple All-Star appearances.
Not with the Nuggets, though.
I guess that is true. Okay.
We're talking about
just if
Nuggets. Nuggets, yeah. The NBA is when we talk about.
I understand.
So top 25 for Nuggets. It's the 6 seasons for me. It's the production level. It's the All-Star. It's the All-NBA. Especially the All-NBA. I mean, I think there's been some All-Stars we brought up. Definitely not all NBA teams at the same time. And then gold medalists too. I mean, that's a limited list.
I know when you said there was just a lot of random players that always get on the Olympic team, I was like, oh, he knows.
Yep, I knew. It's all right. But at the end of the day, I think Antonio McDyess deserves that respect. I'd probably put him right at 25.
So we're putting him ahead of J.R. Smith, which
I think so.
I think that's pretty fair. Like
Yeah.
you said, all NBA, all star while he was in Denver.
Better averages.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
6
I
seasons.
agree with that. I think
yeah.
25 sounds pretty right.
And then the question goes to the NBA level. With somebody like this, All-Star instantly narrows the category. So we'd probably say, 1,000 All-Stars ever out of the 4,000 that are total possible?
Yeah, rough estimate.
Yeah, so basically 1,000. So that's top 1,000. Now we're at All-NBA. So what would that be? Probably 250, 400, somewhere in there. 300, 350. 5, 10. Well, yeah, 5 players called to an All-NBA team per year for a first team per year, 75 years.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's at least 500. That's like 500 or less.
I would say, I don't know, for some reason.
How many of them are gold medalists?
600. That's also true. I didn't really.
So, I mean, we're at least talking 300 now. Because now we're getting into, okay, he doesn't have multiple All-Stars. He can't go higher than that.
And he was on an All-NBA first team.
That's a big deal.
I think that holds
that is a big,
lot of
well,
weight.
and then being a gold medalist too. Because not every or not every player that went to the Olympics won gold medal, especially in that era. I want to say that was the 1 year removed, or one Olympics removed from that.
So what do we think about? So what would you put him at as of
top
right now?
top 300, somewhere in there.
Top 300? We're
Yeah.
putting him above Fat Lever?
It was Fat Lever in the Olympics.
That's true.
I mean, All NBA. I would personally put him up there. Yeah.
I
Better
think around
averages.
375 would be.
I mean, maybe 325. Again, 6 seasons in Denver, averaging 18 points per game. Career 12 and 7 and 5. Like, that's a lot different.
Let's meet in the middle at 350, but I also want to say 351 instead, just for a random obscure number.
This has been Nuggets Knowledge with Beyond Sports. Follow us on social media at Beyond Sports 5280. Call in, text the show, 720-446-8463. We have some great interviews coming up. Tune in after this.
All right, welcome back to Beyond Sports. We're here with the Underwear Hour podcast. How you doing today, guys?
Good. How you doing
right.
today?
You know me. I mean, it is a day after a Nuggets loss, so that's kind of sad, but we'll get past it. So you guys are based out of Indianapolis. Tell me a little bit about the podcast. Like, how'd you guys get started and all that stuff?
Me and Nolan here talked a lot about doing a podcast. We kind of didn't agree on the name all the time, but we ended up going with, the Underwear Hour.
It's a good name.
And recruited these two because Evan went to school for a little bit to do producing. We've been friends for a long time, and then me and Zach worked together. So we added him to the mix as well. Been going for about 3 months now. So
I was about to say, what is it, like 12 episodes now? 11?
Yeah,
11. We'll record 12 tonight.
Yep.
Nice.
After this, yeah.
All right. Evan, didn't you used to – you mentioned that he went to school for producing. Didn't you used to produce a Pacers podcast for a little bit?
I did a podcast with two friends from Indianapolis also that was like sports-based in general, but it was like indie sports-based.
Okay. Yeah, I remember listening to a couple of those episodes. Pardon me?
It was called the Sully and LeBeau Show.
Sully and LeBeau Show. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys did just get a new kind of brand ambassador deal, right?
Yes.
But tell me a little bit about that if you can.
Big Wings Golf Apparel. We just started doing some golf content, and we kind of linked up with them, and they got some good merch. So, they're selling shirts and all that stuff, and got some good stuff. So, we linked up with them, and we're kind of, playing some golf for them.
Yeah, I've been seeing your golf stuff, and it's been pretty funny.
I think we're playing golf for ourselves, and the brand ambassador was like kind of a cool thing, just so now we can get some. some gear to show off.
Nice. All right. Well, we're pretty much going to be here to talk about round one of the NBA playoffs. So we won't start with the Pacers because I have a feeling that's what you guys want to talk the most about. So we'll kind of get a little other series in. But what'd you think about the New York Knicks versus Philly?
Zach.
I thought the Knicks looked pretty good, honestly. Better than I was expecting for the playoffs. It really felt like that came down to Brunson and Brunson and Anunoby playing like 45 minutes a game for Tibbs and kind of just backpacking a lot of the load. I know I don't remember what game they closed out, maybe 6. I know their whole starting lineup had a crazy game that night.
Yeah. I think Josh Hart was like the lowest with 43 minutes from the starting lineup. Like, that's crazy.
Oh, he's running them rampant over there. He's going to run them into the ground, hopefully, by the next series. But
So, all right, what do you guys think about Joel Embiid? How do you think he did? If you want to talk a little bit about this. I know we got some 76ers fans out here.
Joel Embiid's a loser.
Honestly, Joel Embiid is a loser, but he almost put up 50 points.
I don't care.
He was putting up a lot of points.
Team didn't win.
But the team didn't win. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's not. I don't know. Maxi's good. Embiid's good. I think your biggest problem is you're paying Tobias $40 million or whatever, and he's not doing anything.
Max's
Yeah.
a freak.
We're like, I don't know what Josh Hart gets paid, but he plays 43 minutes. He might not score, but he also is finishing the game with 18 rebounds.
Yeah. And 3 steals and a bunch of random hustle plays the entire time.
Yeah, you can adapt, but I don't know. I think Knicks just won off of team ball in general.
Definitely agree with that,
Brunson and team ball.
yeah.
Yeah, Brunson's an animal.
especially with them all being from Villanova too.
Yeah,
Like-
that actually.
Chemistry, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that the Pacers are going to play the Knicks because I did not want to play Embiid. We don't have anyone could stop him.
No.
Oh, he gives
Definitely.
Miles Turner like 50 every time they play.
He shoots a lot of free throws.
And Maxi, who contains him either. So
yeah.
Neesmith, bro.
I know.
I'm pretty sure we beat him in the regular season though. On
Yeah.
record.
Did we?
Yeah.
I think we beat him 2-1 or 3-1, but
To me, it feels like to beat the Knicks, you have to just play really fast and try to tire them out.
Yeah, especially if they only have 5 guys playing most of the game.
Yeah, I don't know if Embiid can play that fast, honestly.
Yeah, and the Knicks, I mean, thankfully for us, that's our game. Is get it the ball from out underneath the basket and go push like as fast as you can go. So hopefully we'll wear the guys down in New York.
I know that's why I think Knicks are going to be a tough matchup because they're all kind of young dudes who can run and gun with us. I feel like maybe not run and gun with us, but they can at least run with us. They can't shoot with us, I don't think, but they can run with us.
I think they definitely have the pace to be able to run with us or run with the Pacers, but don't give me that look over there, Evan. Anyways, we'll move on to the next series. It's not over yet. It's currently in Game 7 right now. Cleveland versus Orlando. Love the Orlando
live right
Magic
now?
theme song.
It's live in Game 7 right now. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's 61-57. The Magic are up. 7 minutes to go in the third.
This may be the best series in the first round, and it's getting almost no press coverage. I feel like
Is
hardly
it?
at all.
Paulo
Yeah.
Banchero averaging like 35 and no one's talking about it in the series.
He's been going crazy.
Paolo's been playing nuts, and like all of their games are on NBA TV for some reason.
Yeah.
And they're good games. I mean, the home team's won every time so far,
Yeah.
but
I think
we'll see if
Mitchell
that continues.
did Mitchell get close to 50 or have 50 like the other night, maybe?
I want to say on Friday when they
think so, yeah.
lost.
Sorry.
Yeah, he was 22 for 36 and he had 50. I mean, that's
That's
just
insane.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they still lost by 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to let's go Celtics Heat. Feel like there's not much to talk about here.
Yeah.
I mean, Celtics are a better
They're
team.
Celtics are just too good at the end of the day.
Yeah. So now we can skip over and just go right to the Pacers. What did you guys think about the Pacers series?
I thought it was awesome. Zach was there at a few games, weren't
Yeah, I
you?
went to Game 3 and Game 6.
Were you the guy standing behind the TNT broadcast camera yelling the entire time? Whoever that guy was hilarious.
Yeah.
Those were the comments I heard on those were hilarious.
Yeah.
He was saying, Bobby Portis, your eyeballs are too big for your head. I mean, that's a funny guy. All right, so we'll move out west, talk a little bit. We'll talk about the Clippers and Mavs. What'd you guys think about Luka getting the dub in 6 games?
I love Luka. I just think, and honestly, I think Kyrie and him are just two of the most like fun, exciting players to watch.
Yeah, just skilled,
Very
incredibly
smooth
skilled
ball.
players.
Yeah.
It seemed like Kyrie was playing pretty lights out this past series. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it, but I know a couple of Clippers had a pretty rough series. I know Russ was looking pretty bad, and I heard James Harden was also looking very bad.
James Harden actually played really good in like the first 2 games, I think. Yeah, they were talking about it. I was listening to an interview. They were saying how they were just like letting him drive to the bucket and we're settling with him shooting free or floaters.
Yeah.
In the first couple games, he was knocking them all down. I think that kind of faded away.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Game 5, he shot 2 of 12.
Yeah, so there you go. I think in the
That's,
first 2 games he had
First 2
20
games,
plus.
he did do well.
Yeah.
But definitely pretty happy to see Luka and Kyrie continue. Timberwolves Suns.
Timberwolves Suns.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think about KD getting swept?
I wasn't super surprised.
Yeah.
I just think it's hilarious.
The way Edwards has been playing is unreal, and on top of that, the Timberwolves defense is very good. So it makes it pretty tough.
Anthony Edwards might be like the most fun professional athlete in the world right now. Like
he's awesome.
fun to watch, and he's just like hilarious.
Yeah.
Dude.
Off the court too.
Yeah.
He was in that movie with Adam Sandler and was just hilarious in it the entire time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
The movie's actually pretty good.
It is
Pretty decent movie.
Yeah, not bad.
But we'll end with Lakers Nuggets. I know you guys being from Indiana probably like seeing LeBron lose after all the years.
Down goes Landon.
I kind of like LeBron and I wanted to see him win again, but to me it just feels like when you lead that much of these games, it feels like it's got to be a lot on Darvin Ham, doesn't it?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Darvin Ham's not the best coach in the world, but I don't think he's necessarily to blame as much as Rob Pelinka is for the construction of that roster.
That I can agree with. For a couple of years now, they've been just buy the biggest name we can, whether he fits or not, and jam him straight in the lineup, and then try it again next year. And it's not looking great.
So let me ask you guys this as the final question. This has kind of been tossed around a lot the last couple, especially since KD, Steph, and LeBron are no longer in the playoffs. Who would you say is the next face of the league?
Edwards, no doubt.
Yeah, and Edwards. I think Jokic, like he is
doesn't want
obviously
it.
going to be up there, but just because he's not as electric as Anthony Edwards, I think the NBA and marketing and everything is definitely going to push towards Anthony Edwards as fast as possible.
Jokic also acts like he doesn't want to play basketball.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to go home. I want to play with my horses. Like, I don't want to be here doing this. I would rather.
I think he just doesn't like the media. I think he absolutely loves basketball.
No question.
Yeah, I think he does too. But
I kind of think he's going to just pull an Andrew Luck on us.
Maybe he might go Andy Luck.
No, I doubt it. That dude.
Don't put that evil on us, guys.
I
Don't put that evil on me.
I kind of feel like he's kind of the face of the league right now. Here in like maybe a couple, definitely Ant Edwards or maybe Shea Gilgeous.
oh yeah, Shea.
Jason Tatum is kind of the face of the league too. Like
Yeah.
it has been. He has been for the past 3 years. I mean, on the
They-
East Coast, he's super popular.
I think this year's Edwards is taking a leap, especially if they make a deep run, and I think it's gonna just keep going. Just because he's the most personable out of all those people. Like he's the most person that if they're not playing basketball and they're doing something else, he's the one I'd want to watch out of all those guys.
Agree.
Well, all right, guys. Thank you guys for coming on. Tell the people where they can find your social medias and all that stuff.
Spotify, The Underwear Hour. That's where you can listen to the podcast, and Instagram, at the Underwear Hour. We got golf content. We got podcast clips, and we have a new video series that's going to drop on Friday. So keep an eye out for that.
All right. Absolutely. Well, thanks again, guys.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, welcome back to Beyond Sports. That was a great interview we just did with the Underwear Hour podcast. Bunch of funny guys. Go check them out. Up next, we're going to be doing round 2 playoff predictions. So kind of going to be diving into the second round of the playoffs, looking at, since we've already talked about the Nuggets, we won't really talk too much about them. But we're going to start with the Celtics and Cavs. Who do you think wins this and why? I think it's pretty easy. How many games do you give the Cavs, basically?
Yeah, I think Cavs lose in 5. They might get a lucky one on the Celtics. The Celtics lost to the Heat without Jimmy Butler there. So, I mean, there could be some exploitation. Kristaps still nursing his injury.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big...
That makes a difference. That puts stress on Al Horford. But at the same time, Horford is a big IQ guy. Even though he's a little bit older, he still is just so smart with that basketball. So you just never know whenever you got somebody on a team like Al Horford. So overall, I think the Celtics remain dangerous and take that series, five total games.
Okay. I don't even know if the Cavs win one, honestly. I think they get swept. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. And I know that the Celtics did lose to the Heat. However, the Cavs don't have Eric Spoelstra at the helm.
Yeah, and Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches of this current generation for sure, if not the best outside of Popovich, but I kind of classify him a little bit different era. Overall, very legendary coach, and I think that the Cavs right now are relying solely on Donovan Mitchell's production.
Definitely.
While he has other weapons that we just didn't really see much of that. One bright spot was Karis LeVert. This last game, he actually kind of showed up and really helped out. And we all know his potential in Indiana. He actually played fairly well for a full season. But moving to the Cavs, we thought that was going to be a big level up for him, and just doesn't really seem to have panned out that way. Evan Mobley has just not really panned out this year, which is surprising.
I think a lot of their players, including Evan Mobley and Karis LeVert, they both are just very spotty. And even when LeVert was in Indiana, he had a much bigger role, and his production was okay, but I don't think it was where it should have been necessarily if he could just stay consistent. And, of course, in the NBA, that's all anyone's ever asked for. That's why Jokic is such a great player, his consistency. And I think if they can get more consistent players on the Cavs surrounding Donovan Mitchell, that they'd have a better chance going forward in the future, but I don't even think he stays after the season.
Yeah, I don't think he really wanted to go to the Cavaliers. He was a part of a trade, not really a signing. So I think at the end of the day, there's a good potential chance that he's going to end up going to the Knicks, actually, in my opinion. That's where he ends up signing. I wouldn't be surprised.
Got a bunch of friends there.
For the overall, this series, it's pretty clean cut. Celtics are going to win it. If it's not 5, it's 6, no question. And I think right now the Cavs are just trying their best not to get swept.
Yeah, definitely. So next up, Pacers versus Knicks. 6-seed Pacers versus 2-seed Knicks. What do you think's going to happen there? Because I keep going back and forth. I think it's only going to be a 6-game series, but I'm not sure who's going to win it.
Yeah, for me, I actually think this one goes 7. I think both these teams got juice. I think the Pacers are really hyped off beating the Bucks. I think the Knicks are really hyped off beating the Sixers and actually being, a playoff contending team this year. I think they were really missing that guy like Brunson who just goes out and gets 40 points.
Yeah.
They just didn't have someone like that before, and I think that makes a big difference for them. And it's very obvious, they took down a healthy 76ers. I know Embiid obviously was dealing with a lot. I'm not saying that. But for the most part, that team was healthy and ready to go. Maxey was playing out of his mind, and they were still able to get that series win. So very impressive win for the Knicks. I think the Knicks have the better chance to win this series, but with the Pacers and just the way they play and the fact that Tyrese Halliburton just really hasn't been playing to his normal level of play, at least what he could produce early in the regular season up until the All-Star break, it seemed like. If that Halliburton shows up, then the Pacers can very easily take this series in 6. But I think as it stands right now, this is going to go 7, and it's going to be whoever shows up to play for Game 7. At the end, I think that could go either way.
Yeah, I think personally, I think the Knicks are going to win in 6. Unfortunately, I'd like to see this Pacers team advance and go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think they have an answer for Jalen Brunson, and I think that's going to be something we see a lot of in the first couple games. I could see Brunson going for 40 to 50 a night for those first 2 games because, like you said, he's got the juice to do it, and they don't really have an on-ball defender that can. Halliburton is good at stealing, but similar to Jokic, he's not the best on-ball defender, unfortunately. And I think that's going to be preyed upon a lot. And I don't think Rick Carlisle is going to be able to make the adjustments. Not that he can't, just that he doesn't have the personnel to necessarily affect Brunson the way that they need to.
Yeah, and I think the advantage for the Pacers comes into the fact that Brunson's only one guy. And while he is always a threat and he is a very, intimidating threat, I think it's just the fact that he is one of their only primary scorers. And it's a question of if everyone else can also score alongside of him. Because I think the big benefit, again, for the Pacers team is all those guys can score. Like, whenever you watch them, especially in the games that they win well, everybody is getting 10-plus points. And I think that is where they have the advantage over the Knicks because the Knicks have a much more limited scoring option for them. There's not a lot of guys on that roster who are getting 10-plus points, especially with Julius Randle not on the court. So I think that's a big detriment for the Knicks right now in this series. And then additionally, just with the Pacers and their offensive side, if they get hot and they can just keep that engine going, it's going to be a question of who can keep up with who. And if they just kind of, make sure everybody else is disrupted and let Brunson kind of do his thing, do our best, obviously.
And we all know Thibodeau's going to run every single one of his starters 43-plus minutes a game.
Yeah, and so it'll be really interesting to see. I think it's going to be a huge battle. I don't think anyone's got a major advantage in this one.
I know. Every time I was kind of convincing myself one way or the other in that previous 3-4 minutes, I was thinking, well, that's also kind of true for the other team. They're very similar teams.
Yeah.
I like both the teams, so I just hope it's a great series. Like I said, I got Knicks in 6. But, yeah.
I'd like to see Pacers in 7, but I think it'd be Knicks in 7.
Okay. I could see either. I hope it goes 7 games. I think that'd be a super
It's going to be
series.
a battle. It's at least 6 for sure, in my opinion.
I agree.
No question. But now moving over to the West. So we've got the Thunder and the Mavericks matching up, and I think this one's interesting. A big thing that coming into this postseason is that the Thunder are still just not really being talked about for finals contenders, it seems like, and they're obvious contenders, but they're going to have to prove themselves against the Mavericks, and this is their first real test in this postseason. But I will say their players look ready. I think the Pelicans were beat up and just not really ready to compete in the playoffs this year. I don't know what they've got going on. It's been this way now for several years for the Pelicans, so they got a lot going on.
Just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just everything, and I think that they've got some hard decisions to make. But in this series with the Thunder versus the Mavericks are the complete opposite. They look like all their pieces are starting to make sense. Certain players are really starting to shine, like Derek Lively specifically, and I think that is really advantageous for them. They beat a good team in the Clippers, and they made the Clippers look like a bad team, beating them in 6, in my opinion. And so for them to be able to do that and do what they did in that series, they need to be taken very seriously by the Thunder.
Yeah, and I think to your point of why has the Thunder not been talked about as much, they haven't been tested. The Mavericks have been tested, and that's why everyone's talking about them. And I think that's kind of going to play into this series a little bit because they are way more experienced than this young Thunder team outside of some of their role players. But their main 2 guys, Luka and Kyrie, who are meshing very well right now, are experienced. They know how to win in the playoffs. I mean, Kyrie hit one of the most famous championship shots of all time. Luka's delivered how many Western Conference Finals appearances? As pretty much just playing by himself. I mean, I know he had Brunson for a while, but Brunson wasn't what he was today. And I think Kyrie is a better player, and I think the pieces surrounding him are also better. And I don't know. I think this is going to be another battle. I kind of have Mavericks, and I want to say 6, but I think it's probably going to be 7.
Yeah, I think the Thunder take this 1 and 7. While I definitely agree the Mavericks look hungry and ready, and I think their biggest X factor is the fact that they have 2 guys like Luka and Kyrie. You know, the Thunder realistically have 1 in Shea.
If Jalen Williams steps up to the plate, though,
could be good. And Chet's there too, and they've just got so many role players around them as well. So I think the Thunder are ready, but they need to come in serious, and they need to come in, ready to take down their opponent. I think the Thunder are going to edge it out, but Luka, you just never know. It's so hard to tell, and if it goes 7 and the Mavs win, I wouldn't be shocked. If it goes 6 and the Mavs wins, I wouldn't be shocked. It's just all about kind of seeing how this game 1 plays out.
Yeah,
and we need to see the tone of this series and see who's
going to set it.
Yeah, which coach has been paying attention to the other team, and I think that is going to be a major X factor in that series.
All right, so really last one. I mentioned it earlier. We're just going to give quick predictions on it. I said Nuggets in 6. Where are you standing at?
Yeah, Nuggets in 6 would be really nice. I think realistically at this point, it's looking more like a Nuggets in 7 situation. I am personally very concerned with the Nuggets team. They're just not playing with that fighting spirit I want to see from them. I'm hoping that as this continues to back them into a corner, just with the situation in the Timberwolves, hopefully we see this win tonight. But if we don't get this win, it is a very big concern. So I'd say Nuggets in 7, potentially 6. Nuggets in 7 is, I think, what we're going to see.
All right. That was our second round predictions with Beyond Sports. Be sure to follow us on social media at Beyond Sports 5280. Remember to call in or text the show at 720-446-8463. Again, that number is 720-446-8463. That's all for us this week. Be sure to tune in next Monday at 6 p.m. for another great episode of Beyond Sports.